Hey guys, special treat today. A new thing, an old new thing, and a very special. And that old new thing is this guy right here, a really tricky to find razor. Well, this is the handle of a Gillette Tech. It's the, um, we call it the fat handle Tech. And the top cap, probably not too different from a standard Tech. But if you look at that base plate, it's called a raised flat bottom. So there's a little bit of raised bit right there. Let's take it apart. Here's that bottom. See how it's got a little raised platform there, kind of going along the center. And this is made in England. Normally, the raised flat bottom is on a Gillette new, all caps new. And that would be an open comb right here. Well, this is a solid bar. And this, I believe, is the only razor they did that with. And the Techs are renowned for being smooth shavers. They're so smooth that in many cases, some guys are impatient with them and aren't able to find the angle quickly enough and pass them off as being too mild. But I think many guys would be well served with them if they just worked on that angle just a little bit more. And then those guys who need a mild razor are very appreciative in the first place. So we'll put it back together, but here's the top cap. It's got the rails similar to other heads. And so this is it's called a hybrid Tech, Gillette hybrid Tech. And it's pretty rare. And why I have one is because the well, right place at the right time to pick it up and purchase it on the used market. But also because it is said to be one of the best, smoothest shavers out there. The guys who have them and use them just talk about them like crazy. So it was on my list, and I've been watching and looking and hunting for ever since I heard about it, maybe a year ago, something like that. So we're going to try that out for the first time today. It was hard through austere August to use that same setup of gear for about half that month. I think I had this in my drawer looking at it. All right. Inside of it, I'm going to test it with a lower use blade. This is a Gillette Silver Blue that has 10 uses on it. And, I've been using that Nasset, about 205 uses now. I'm going to shelve that for a little while. And I always like to test new razors with a youngish blade. And the GSB does well for me in so many razors. It's a great one to start off with. Cigar Shop Cowboy from CBL. I took a look through their inventory after hearing that they were a good soap company from several sources. And I went ahead and there were maybe 2 scents that from the descriptions sound like would be interesting and maybe a little different than some of the stuff I already have. Because you can't look at every single brand and then buy everything that sounds good to you, because that would just make a wasteful library den of soaps that you never get to use. And so this one seemed to be a little unique from the rest of my collection, and so I went in and picked it up. Well, I got it in the mail, and it looked bad. It was all liquidy, and you could pivot the container here, and it would move around. You can still see some of the bubbles. It obviously went through some, and it wasn't even a hot day the day it arrived, but it came from California across, and so it must have. I talked to the maker, sent him a picture, and I've had very good interactions with him about it, and so I'm really happy with that. He thinks that it probably spent some significant amount of time over 140 degrees. He said that would not impact the performance of the soap. He said it's all gelled up, and it normally does not have this texture, so there's that. But he did say that one problem that can happen with this particular, with soaps that are like this one, maybe stronger scents, I'm not exactly sure what made it this way, but they can lose some of their scent strength because of all that boiling and high temperature that's in play. I like the scent. Cigar Shop Cowboy. Yeah, I can smell the leather. Not so much maybe the cigar, kind of leather, maybe a little bit of wood. It's pretty light from the puck. Now I'm going to scoop this one. He said it's a soft soap, and so if this one's soft, then which it is very, then it's not, has not been damaged during shipment, because it is a fairly soft soap. I'm going to get about 1/4 teaspoon here, and we'll try it out. He did, because of this, he said if the scent had gone, then he would refund my money, and I really appreciate that. So I'm really happy with his level of customer service and prompt responses, relatively speaking. Yeah, this is definitely this could really be a cream, really. I mean, a thicker cream, but still, I could definitely see this coming out of a tube. To be honest, it's kind of the consistency of maybe toothpaste. So I'm spreading this around in my lather bowl, and I haven't been able to spread. I haven't been scooping my Midnight Stag that I've been using all in August. So this is funny. Some of these things I haven't done in a whole month. A little off my schedule today, so we're looking at maybe a day and a half of growth. Finished up that August on September 4th because I started late, so I had to shift my 31 days of Midnight Stag like that. All right, so let us put the GSB blade in the razor. GSB does have those little glue dots, not on this side, but here. So those are so aggravating. One good thing about using a blade that has the glue dots, if it happens to be a good blade for you, one good thing about using that blade over and over and over is those will eventually wear down and there won't be a problem anymore. But if you change every 3 shaves, then you're going to have to keep dealing with that. All right. So GSB, Gillette Silver Blue with 10 uses inside of a hybrid tech. And it holds the blade really well. It's got those typical Gillette tech type posts in each of the corners here that jive with a cutout in the blade, so perfect alignment every time. All right, let's mix up this lather, see what happens. You know what, just to be on the safe side, I think I got 1/4 teaspoon, and most soaps, that's plenty. But since this is a new soap, I'm going to give it a little bit more. Just because I want to give it a really good chance. If I end up with, the worst case, I just end up with tons of lather, right? All right, so let's put that down in. Press it down. There we go. It is a very soft soap. All right. The brush today is this guy right here, which is the Badger that I've been really enjoying ever since I got it. I'm shaking most of the water out. It is the Maggard SHD, super high density. And this kind of brush may be driving out a couple of my other favorites. I have enjoyed the Whip Dog and Golden Nib Premium. Both the Whip Dog Silver Tip and the Golden Nib Premium Silver Tip are really nice brushes. They're really soft, and so some might consider them floppy, but they splay really well, and so you like shaving with a cloud kind of thing, and maybe that is something you like. But a lot of people these days like the firmer, a little bit more backbone. To their brushes, to their Badgers, and so they're heading to finest or 2-band Badger brushes, things like that. And this one is a 2-band as well, pretty much. Now look at this. It's creaming up really well. It does have some tiny micro bubbles, but I'm not really too concerned with that. I'm going to add water slowly because this knot does come, even as much shaking as I did, it does come to the lather with a good amount of water in it already. So this is my first time lathering this guy up. It's kind of gluey. The new versions of like Barrister and Man Excelsior base, the Icarus base from Declaration Grooming are also kind of gluey and kind of low structure. They don't puff up quite as much. And that's the way this guy's starting out, but we'll see what happens after we... Definitely not a lot of lather being generated at this point. Curious as to whether I'm going to drown it if I keep adding water. He, the maker, CBL maker, I believe his name was Chris, I can't remember. He did say that after looking at it and talking with me about it, he did say that he felt very confident in saying that the performance of the soap was not impacted. So that's good. He said he's tested and done some pretty extreme things, and so he feels pretty sure that the performance is fine. Yeah, this is starting to look a little better. I got probably more of the soap that's in the brush is gradually starting to be worked out into the lather. Of course, once I know the kind of water amount, I can speed it up and add water a little bit more quickly than I am now. Quantity of the lather is definitely coming up here. Makes me feel a little bit better about that. I'm really glad I added the extra bit just in case. May not need it, but yeah, I'm kind of getting, kind of a little bit of Western, kind of cigar store, leather, wood, a touch of cigar. A little bit of something like that. I don't know if it's not really much like a lot of cigars that I have smelled. I'm not a cigar aficionado. I think I've just tried one. I've smelled some, my dad smoked them occasionally when I was growing up. There was this tobacco store in the mall. Take a trip and those smells. Hold on just a second. Sorry, kind of had to cut out mid-story. I'm afraid I don't remember where I was. I have added another bit of water from the syringe, even though it kind of started out kind of soupy, and I thought maybe I didn't have enough soap. Eventually I worked it to where the soap and the water in the brush are all combining, coming out in the bowl and all that, and I've got 1.5 teaspoons in it now, and look at that. For me, a lot of times that's what a soap needs to look like, or close to it. Not really all jaggedy and peaky, but really smooth like that. The good soaps that I really enjoy a lot. Do you see that? A little bit of a stretch before it dropped. Let's look at the stretch and peaks now. And I'd say it could even take a little bit more water. Besides, this is my first time with it, so why don't we maybe push it a little bit and just see what happens. So, looks like that 1/4 teaspoon might be enough soap after all. What kind of smell are we getting? Yeah, like musty leather, wood. I mean, I have tried some tobacco scents like pipe tobacco, and that scent really not here. in terms of referencing the cigar nature of this one. But it might be another type of tobacco or cigar scent that I just am a little hard to identify. But the lather looks terrific. So hopefully it'll shave as well as it looks. All right, let's try this. First of all, let's gather it to the bottom of the bowl and kind of show it to you. We got a good quantity here. Make it drop. Yeah, a little bit of stretch. That looks really good. And then we'll pull it up like that. Looks pretty nice. All right, let's try that out. A little water on my face again. Man, I can feel that beard today. All right, we'll see how this hybrid tech does. Okay, I think we're ready to go. See if I watered it down too much. Right now, this brush feels really hard and it's resistant to splaying. I'm gonna work it on my face a little bit. I haven't used it in a month or so. Wow. Let's go ahead and get some more lather. Maybe I didn't do the thing. See, with the boar brushes, I've become used to shoving it down into the lather to kind of get that lather all up in between the bristles. I didn't do that at all this time. Well, this is not going well at all. Maybe this is a soap that needs to be run a lot drier than I tend to like my lathers. Stuff's flying everywhere, and see how it's dissipating? It looks beautiful. But there are definitely a good number of soaps that do this. They look really nice in the bowl, but then by the time you start to put them on, they kind of act like this. And it's sad when I'm here applying it and it's so thin that it's flying off the brush, but I need it to stay on my face because I don't have a lot to deal with. Wow. Okay, so we learned something. With this particular base, I can't take it and make it look all beautiful and slick. I have to keep it drier. So what do we do in that situation, folks? We add more soap. All right. Well, normally it's better when you add soap to a lather to go to the puck and load with the brush. But since I may send this back to the maker, I'm just scooping. Well, when you scoop and you want to push that now back into this bowl, it doesn't really want to stick to the bottom like it does when it's dry. And so what you kind of end up doing is pushing those little pieces around in the soap, and that's kind of a chore. In retrospect, it may be better to, if I have to do this again, to just run and get another bowl and just kind of render that lather up a little bit in that bowl first, to where it's no longer has those pieces of the chunks of the soap. But fortunately, I think I've done it enough to where this has thickened up some. So let's give it. I still see some chunks, but you know, I can't churn on this forever. This feels a lot better. Scent strength is very light when you're here using it. Switch to painting. Let's try that out. Definitely going to give this razor several uses. So we'll put some good soaps to it that are known as really good soaps to make sure that we get a good feel for it. That's nice. And this is, I'm going to switch from that buffing. See, that's my habit because of the Nasset that I've been using for a while now. But this is incredibly smooth. Cutting really well. You can feel the blade edge just a little bit. And what maybe I'm feeling is not the edge, but maybe just the cutting, the touching of the blade to the hairs. It's really nice. All right, there was a rinse. Now let's get some of this lather up in my brush again. Had a really nice feel during the rinse right there. Just a nice, creamy, slick rinse. You could just feel it on my face. So it does look like it's a good soap. Now cross grain. Now that is just super smooth. But if you've seen me do too many videos, super smooth sometimes means that it's not cutting hairs. Now, since this is such a well-regarded razor, I have to believe that that's not going to be the problem with this one. But that's just a joy to shave with right here. And this is with a 10-use blade. Some people have long since thrown away the blade with this many uses. Rinse. Apparently one of the special things about this soap maker is that he gets his tallow from a nearby, or who knows, maybe his own butcher. And so you can see how water is the first ingredient, but stearic acid, Wagyu beef tallow is right up there. Like third or fourth ingredient there. And so it is a tallow soap, and it's kind of a premium tallow, I might imagine, but maybe tallow, you know, fat's fat. Face feels great, no irritation at all. Let's go ahead and lather up. Make sure there's no water in my goatee. I don't need that diluting my lather. So my perfect Badger brush might be somewhere in between this SHD nut and the much softer Gillette, premium grade golden nib. One thing maybe I could do, because see, I just got the 24 millimeter golden nib, so I could potentially, because I didn't want it to be so big. Sometimes you can get more density by, getting a bigger knot. And also you can get more density by reducing the loft a little bit to keep those hairs together a little bit more. So those are a couple of things that maybe I could try. O-rings sometimes are a good way to temporarily shorten the loft of a brush. And if you like the look, you can keep it on there forever, but. So yeah, this looks like a soap base that I would need to run drier appearing, to appear drier than I usually like it, because as you can see, it's really light on the face now. It'll probably still do the job just fine. Because after all we need is that super thin layer of slickness right next to your skin to do the protection. Everything else is just kind of fluff. My tricky spots right here. Doing really well. And yeah, the angle on this razor seems to be pretty intuitive. So it must be pretty close to, you know, typical standard razor angle. All right, I'm gonna rinse and check things out. So we've got some pretty good length on some hairs right there. So let's do a touch up. Maybe come at that area with some more strategic movements, like maybe a kind of a diagonal slide. Try to get those. No, it's not really getting them. How about that? A little bit, but not too much. The soap feels like it's giving some nice glide to the razor. So it seems like maybe this spot may be really tricky for this particular razor because of its smoothness. Now just then I did a slide across, and I think that might be the wrong direction for that, and so that really could be user error. So let's try kind of that again. But this time with me remembering a little better what angle those hairs are coming in at. I do feel a little bit of irritation, you know, and that's normal for me, kind of because I've got an against the grain aspect. Oh yeah, that did a lot better. There's a couple still that maybe have some length on it, but yeah, that's the right angle. That's closer to the right approach for that particular area. So wow, this was a delight to shave with. It sure was. Maybe I'll put it on another handle that I enjoy a lot, but I can see why people like it. I really can. We'll put it through some more paces, some other blades, some other soaps. Right now, this soap does seem to be a nicely performing soap. It had pretty good residual slickness, nice creamy feel. Oh yeah, I did nick myself right there on that mole. But otherwise, really good. Find some aftershave. All right, while picking out my Whiskey Woods, thought that might kind of match a little bit with the theme, the style. I did go ahead and splash on a little bit of witch hazel. Just kind of before this. And sure enough, not really any stinging, because we've got a nice smooth razor with a sharp blade. And this is my first, boy, maybe in about 2 months, I've been cranking pretty hard on that Nasset, and right now the Nasset is really only working in a couple of my razors, namely the Timeless 68 open comb. And so that razor has been, and that setup has been for 2 months now, what I've been using. And so I'm really also happy to see that I kept my technique pretty solid so that I didn't cut myself up this first time using a normal razor in a younger blade. So that's really good. Some guys get off a marathon and they cut themselves up. I do obviously have that one little weeper, but he'll go away very soon. I don't feel any irritation, even the weeper. Feels good. I like the smell of this. I think it does walk hand in hand nicely with the Cigar Shop Cowboy. So at this point, I would probably recommend CBL as a good performing soap. Now, the only question in my mind is how much soap does it take to make a good lather? If it takes more than a quarter teaspoon, then that's kind of above average usage, and maybe that's a little bit less economical than a lot of the options out there. So that's my only question mark. But for right now, it gets a thumbs up. And we'll try, maybe we'll try it again later. I'll have it, now that I've tried it, I can have a conversation with the maker and see what kind of scent strength is typical for this. But I've been really happy dealing with him so far. So customer service, performance of the lather seem to be good for this brand. So here's how this brush looks after the shave. It's opened up really nicely. And as long as it's got a thick enough lather, it seems to do really well. This one looked nice at first, but was really thin, and this brush instantly let me know because it was a solid hunk of immovable wall of hair. And so then I was like, that was my first immediate notification that something might be wrong with the lather. And so, but then once I added more soap to it, it got much more enjoyable. I also wanted to show you the little travel case, the case that came with this tech. Let me go ahead and take it apart. Take my GSB, put it over here on my hand towel. So that worked out really well. The GSB was a great choice for this razor and this shave. Here is what the Gillette case looks like, kind of light brown. And then you put the bar handle here, fat handle here, and then this space is actually for a blade bank, or rather a little container, and it did come with it, but I just don't have it here, to keep your blades in. And then this hole and this little built-up area right here is right there, good for your head. And then you would just close it up and move on. Now, I was traveling with this one recently because I thought I might use it. I did not end up using it. And see, this is metal on metal right here with the head. And so what I actually did was I put the base plate over here because I didn't want it to rub off any of the plating. You know, during traveling, things just kind of vibrate and shake sometimes, and that can really wear away at a blade. And then I took one of these little eyeglass cleaning cloths that I get and I don't seem to know what to do with, and I put it right between, and that just keeps everything nice and still and protected and all that. So that is a Gillette Hybrid Tech. Pretty amazing little razor. They just, a couple things I don't know. Why in the world didn't they keep making that razor? I don't know. Because surely when it first came out, guys would use it and then respond to it favorably like we have. Secondly, why hasn't somebody taken this razor head and copied the geometry to try to make a contemporary version that has this same wonderful shaving geometry? I don't know. Now, does this razor shave infinitely better than a similar tech, a standard ball end tech or fat handle tech that probably costs more like $10 or $15 on eBay when this one is much more? The answer is no. To me, it doesn't shave that much better because it's quite a price difference, but this does shave wonderfully, and it does grab the blade right up near the cutting edge, and so that's one of the reasons why it's just so smooth and has a good feeling to it. You put a nice sharp blade in there and it works really well. And I do the same thing with my other techs. So you know what? I might have to have a comparison with my the other techs that I've used in the past and this guy, just to be able to present some good info for you guys. Because you know, why chase something down if it's not quite worth the extra money? And at least that'll give you some information for yourself. All right, I'm gonna keep cleaning up. So regarding the smell, I do like the smell. It may not have as much cigar shop notes to it, at least that I'm able to perceive. Things like that are very subjective. You may get this same soap and be able to pick up more notes than me. That's just the way scents work. But Cowboy, I definitely got the Cowboy vibe from this soap. And I did get, pardon me. Sorry. I didn't, while I may not be getting too much in terms of cigar, it's a nice, manly, historical scent. It does smell that way. And it's almost nutty, but not being nutty. But I'm having trouble, specifying a few of the notes there. But anyway, I like it a lot. I like the scent a lot. Obviously, I wish it were stronger. But there you go. Anything else? No, I think I summed it up pretty good. The razor performed really well. And so did the brush once we got the soap to the right consistency. All in all, a favorable try with CBL. Of course, I had no way of knowing in the beginning that it would need to be worked a little drier. And so then I ended up pushing too much water into it, And so there we go. I think we're good. So I hope you have a good day for yours, you and yours. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care.